Have you ever noticed the faint tension in a conversation, the subtle shift in someone's tone, or the way their words seem just a bit too sharp? Perhaps it's when a compliment feels hollow, as if they're holding back, or when silence greets your success instead of the congratulations you expected. There's something unspoken, something uneasy lurking in their behavior: jealousy. And the truth is, it's far more common than we'd like to admit. But here's the twist. Jealousy is not always about you. It reveals more about them, an internal struggle, an unmet expectation, or even a quiet resentment of their own inadequacies projected onto you. Today, through the lens of Stoic philosophy, we'll explore the 10 undeniable signs of jealousy, and more importantly, how to remain composed and virtuous in the face of it. If you've ever been at the receiving end of envy, this might just reshape how you understand your relationships. So, stay with me until the end, because what we uncover today could change how you navigate life forever. Before we dive deeper, let me ask you something. Have you ever felt the sting of someone's jealousy, hidden behind a smile or cloaked in false praise? Share your experience in the comments, because these stories matter. Let's make this conversation meaningful. And while you're here, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Each action is small, but together they empower this channel to bring timeless wisdom to more people who need it. The question is, will you join this movement of clarity and strength, or will you let it pass you by? The choice is yours. Jealousy is one of those emotions we all encounter, whether we're the object of it or even when we feel its pangs ourselves. It's a strange paradox. It often masquerades as something harmless, even polite, yet it has the potential to corrode relationships, self-esteem, and even a person's sense of purpose. But what is jealousy, really? At its core, jealousy isn't about what you have or what someone else lacks. It's an internal battle, a deeply personal conflict rooted in insecurity and a fixation on external comparisons. To the Stoics, jealousy was not merely destructive, it was irrational. They believed that to envy someone else is to misunderstand the nature of life itself. Seneca reminds us that the wise man is content with what he has, no matter how little, while the foolish man is tormented by what he lacks, no matter how much. Think about that for a moment. Jealousy doesn't harm the person it's directed toward nearly as much as it poisons the person who feels it. Epictetus was clear. Envy arises when we give too much power to things beyond our control. A jealous person suffers because they've tethered their happiness to external circumstances they cannot change or possess. But here's where it gets tricky. Some argue jealousy is a form of admiration twisted by insecurity. Others see it as something far darker, a reflection of unresolved bitterness, even contempt. What do you think? Is jealousy at its core a backhanded compliment, or is it a symptom of something much deeper, an emotional wound projected outward? Let me know in the comments. Do you see jealousy as a compliment or as something more corrosive? Your perspective might just spark the insight someone else needs. The Stoics teach us that we cannot control how others feel about us, but we can control how we respond. And that is where the power lies, not in fighting jealousy with anger or frustration, but in rising above it with composure and clarity. As we move forward, keep this in mind. Jealousy, though deeply personal, often manifests in patterns. Patterns we can recognize and understand if we pay close enough attention. Today, we'll break down 10 of these signs, not to accuse, but to bring awareness to the unseen dynamics shaping our relationships. Let's start with the first and often most subtle sign: backhanded compliments. What seems like a kind word might reveal far more than meets the ear. Sign 1. Backhanded compliments. A compliment is supposed to lift you up, right? It's a recognition of your effort, your talent, or your character. But what happens when that compliment comes with a sharp edge, a subtle jab that leaves you questioning the intent behind it? This is where jealousy often hides, in backhanded compliments that feel like a gift wrapped in doubt. Imagine this. You've just landed a major promotion at work. A colleague approaches you, smiles and says, "Congratulations, that's amazing." But it's probably because your boss likes you, right? It's subtle, almost casual, but it stings. Instead of celebrating your achievement, they've planted a seed of doubt. It's no longer about your skills or hard work. It's about some external factor they believe diminishes your success. Have you ever experienced this? That uneasy moment when someone's words feel less like support and more like a cleverly disguised critique? Let me know in the comments how you responded, or if you let it slide. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminds us, "If anyone despises me, that is their problem. My only concern is not doing or saying anything deserving of contempt." Backhanded compliments are a reflection of the giver's inner turmoil, not your worth. A jealous person struggles to reconcile your success with their own insecurities, so they project that unease onto you. But as Stoics, our response must be one of composure, not arrogance, not anger, but quiet confidence in our virtue. After all, their words don't define you. What defines you is how you choose to interpret and respond to them. So the next time someone tries to diminish your accomplishments with a backhanded compliment, remember this: their envy says more about them than it ever will about you. But here's the thing: jealousy doesn't always speak aloud. Sometimes it hides in silence, a silence that feels louder than words. Let's explore the second sign of jealousy, the silent treatment or withholding praise. Sign 2. Silent treatment or withholding praise. Sometimes jealousy doesn't announce itself with words. Instead, it lingers in silence, a silence that feels conspicuous, almost deliberate. You achieve something meaningful, a new job, a personal milestone, or even a small victory, and the people you care about most have nothing to say. No congratulations, no acknowledgement, just silence. Why is that silence so deafening? Because deep down, we expect those closest to us to celebrate our successes. When they don't, it leaves us questioning, is it oversight? Or is there something else at play? Picture this. You've worked for months, pouring your energy into a personal project. Finally, you succeed. It's everything you hoped for. Excited, you share the news with your close friend, expecting a smile, maybe a, "Wow, I'm so proud of you." Instead, they nod briefly, change the subject, or worse, say nothing at all. Days pass, and they still haven't brought it up. The lack of acknowledgement stings because it feels intentional, like your success has highlighted something they'd rather not face within themselves. Have you ever experienced this? A moment when someone's silence said far more than their words ever could? If you have, share your story in the comments. It's a topic many of us struggle with, yet rarely discuss openly. Now, let's turn to Stoic philosophy for clarity. Epictetus tells us, "Don't explain your philosophy, embody it." In the same way, your achievements don't need external validation to have value. A true Stoic focuses on internal worth, not external praise. When someone withholds acknowledgement of your success, their silence is not a reflection of your accomplishments, but of their own inability to process it. It's their burden, not yours. Seneca would remind us that those who can't celebrate others are often weighed down by their own discontent. For a Stoic, the solution is to let go of the expectation of praise. You achieved something meaningful. That meaning doesn't diminish because it wasn't applauded. So here's the question. Do you think someone who can't celebrate you truly cares for you? Or is that inability to acknowledge your wins a sign of something deeper? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. It's a question worth exploring. But what about when jealousy takes a more aggressive form? When the silence is broken and instead of support, you're met with criticism? Let's move to the third sign, overly critical behavior. Sign 3. Overly critical of your success. Criticism, when constructive, can be a gift, a way to grow and improve. But what about when it's not constructive? When it's laced with jealousy, designed not to help but to diminish? This is another hallmark of jealousy, an overemphasis on pointing out flaws or downplaying your achievements. Imagine this. You've worked hard, earned a promotion, and you're proud of your progress. Instead of congratulating you, a friend shrugs and says, "Well, it's not like you're running the company or anything." It stings, doesn't it? Because their words don't just dismiss the promotion. They diminish your effort, your growth, and the significance of the moment. Why do people do this? Often, it's easier for someone to criticize your success than to face their own dissatisfaction. It's not about your accomplishment. It's about their inability to celebrate it. Have you experienced this before? Tell me in the comments how you handled it. It might help someone else in the same situation. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The criticism you face, especially when it's rooted in jealousy, often says more about the critic than about you. As Stoics, the focus must always return to what we can control, our response. Someone else's words cannot change the value of your achievement unless you allow them to. This is the essence of Stoicism, recognizing that external opinions, even critical ones, are beyond our control. But our mindset, our ability to stay grounded in our virtue and progress, is entirely in our hands. So the next time you're met with unwarranted criticism, pause. Ask yourself, does this criticism hold truth, or is it a reflection of their own inner conflict? Choose to respond, not react. Rise above, not to prove them wrong, but to maintain your own peace. If you've ever faced someone who tried to tear down your success with criticism, share your story in the comments. Your experience could spark strength and clarity for others who feel the same way. And remember, by liking this video, you're not just supporting the channel, you're helping to bring timeless Stoic wisdom to others who need it. So, what's stopping you from being part of that ripple effect? Go ahead and like, and let's keep spreading clarity and strength. But sometimes, jealousy doesn't show up as direct criticism. Instead, it sneaks in through comparison, a subtle yet persistent undermining of your achievements. Let's move to the fourth sign, constant comparison. Sign 4, imitation or copying. Imitation is often called the sincerest form of flattery, but what happens when someone starts copying your style, your ideas, or your approach to life, and doesn't give you any credit for it? At first, it might seem harmless, even flattering, but when it becomes a pattern, it begins to expose something deeper, a silent form of jealousy. Imagine this scenario. You've spent years developing a unique way of doing things, whether it's your approach at work, your personal style, or even your ideas about how to live a meaningful life. Suddenly, a friend or colleague starts doing everything you do, the way they dress, the words they use, even the projects they take on, All seem strangely similar to your own, yet they never acknowledge where their inspiration comes from. You start to wonder, are they inspired by me, or are they trying to claim my ideas as their own? It's a strange feeling when someone mimics your unique identity without ever recognizing your influence. You begin to question if it's admiration or something more complex. How do you respond when you see this happening? Have you ever noticed this pattern before? Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. It's more common than we think. From a Stoic perspective, imitation is not something to take personally. Epictetus teaches us that we are not the authors of our ideas. If others are inspired by them, it's a reflection of their inner needs, not a validation of our own self-worth. The Stoic response is simple: stay detached. If someone imitates your style or ideas, it is not a reflection of your failure or their superiority. It's just a natural part of human behavior. The key is not to take pride or offense in imitation. Your worth, according to Stoicism, is determined by your actions and virtues, not by how others perceive or copy you. Imitation doesn't diminish your value. It only points to the fact that your uniqueness resonates with others. In fact, as Seneca would remind us, we are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. So while imitation may seem flattering, it is important not to let it inflate your ego or make you defensive. Recognize it for what it is and remain focused on your own path. But imitation can be a mere precursor to something more toxic. When copying turns into sabotage, that's when things get serious. Let's explore the fifth sign: undermining your success through passive-aggressive behavior. Sign 5. Undermining you behind your back. When jealousy escalates, it often takes on a more insidious form, undermining you behind your back. This is the kind of jealousy that doesn't just stay in the realm of passive behavior. It actively seeks to harm your reputation, to twist the narrative, and to tarnish the image others have of you. This is where the stakes get high. Imagine this: you're working in a competitive environment. Everything seems fine until you start hearing whispers. At first, they're subtle: a comment here, a rumor there. Someone you thought was a friend starts telling others that you only got ahead because of favoritism, or that your success is a result of office politics. You know the truth, but these whispers, no matter how small, begin to slowly erode the perception others have of you. Have you ever experienced this? That gut-wrenching feeling when you realize someone has been speaking ill of you to others. It's one of the more painful manifestations of jealousy, because it not only harms your reputation, but it sows doubt among those who may have once trusted you. How did you handle it? Did you confront the person, or did you let your actions speak for themselves? Let's talk about it in the comments. When dealing with this kind of behavior, the Stoic response is clear. Composure and integrity are paramount. Marcus Aurelius taught us, "The best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injustice." Stoicism doesn't condone reacting to deceit with retaliation or anger. Instead, it urges us to remain true to our values and principles, regardless of what others say or do. If someone is spreading rumors to damage your reputation, Stoicism advises not to get caught in the web of drama. Your actions should speak louder than their words. Stay focused on your work, your purpose, and your integrity. Trust that over time, the truth will prevail. As Epictetus reminds us, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. By maintaining composure in the face of deceit, you rise above the noise and let your character shine through. Here's something to think about. When someone tries to undermine you behind your back, should you confront them directly, or let your actions speak louder? What do you think is the best way to handle it? Share your thoughts below, and let's discuss how we can best navigate these tricky situations while staying true to our Stoic principles. But sometimes, it's not just whispers or rumors, it's a deliberate, direct attack on your success. When jealousy turns from subtle sabotage to full-blown aggression, the next sign is clear: attempts to discredit you openly. Let's move to the sixth sign: aggressive confrontation. One of the most deceptive forms of jealousy occurs when it masquerades as friendship. It's easy to overlook because it often presents itself in the form of caring behavior or concern. Yet beneath the surface, envy is quietly festering, shaping the dynamics of the relationship. Today, we explore two subtle signs of jealousy that are difficult to spot but can erode a friendship from the inside out. Sign 6. The constant comparison of their life to yours. At first, it might seem like harmless banter, but over time, you realize that every conversation somehow shifts back to comparing your achievements, your lifestyle, or even your choices. Imagine this scenario. You share your recent success, whether it's a career milestone or personal victory, and instead of being celebrated, your friend responds with, "Well, I did something similar last year, but it wasn't such a big deal." You notice that whenever you have a success, they always seem to have one that's either equal or more important. This is no longer just conversation. It's a way to measure their worth against yours. It's exhausting, and worse, it's a sign of underlying envy. Have you ever had a friendship where the relationship felt like an endless competition? How did it make you feel? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. The Stoics, especially Seneca, cautioned against comparison because it always leads to dissatisfaction. In Letters from a Stoic, he writes, "It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Constant comparison distracts us from our own journey. It causes us to focus on what others have rather than on what we can achieve through our own effort and virtue. For the Stoic, the only worthy comparison is the one we make with our past self. Marcus Aurelius advises, "The best way to avenge yourself is to not be like that." Instead of competing with others, focus on cultivating your inner strength, and you'll find peace in your own progress, no matter how anyone else measures up. Sign 7. Downplaying your struggles or victories. This one is insidious because it comes from someone who claims to be your friend, someone who should understand and support you through both the highs and lows of life. But when jealousy enters the picture, those supportive gestures start to look more like dismissal. Imagine sharing something important with a friend, a personal challenge or a triumph, something that required real effort. You open up about it, hoping for empathy or recognition, and they respond with, "Well, that's not so bad," or "You think that's a big deal? Wait until you hear what happened to me." It feels like a betrayal, doesn't it? Instead of acknowledging your struggle, they minimize it, making it seem as though your feelings and experiences are trivial. Have you had a moment where a friend dismissed your emotions or downplayed your success? How did you handle it? Did you stand up for yourself, or did you internalize it? Share your experiences in the comments. I'm eager to hear how you dealt with these situations. Seneca, in his writings, stresses the importance of finding solace in our own virtue and not seeking constant validation from others. When a friend dismisses your struggles, remember that it says more about their capacity for empathy than it does about the worth of your feelings. In his letters to Lucilius, Seneca suggests that our responses to others' actions should come from a place of inner strength, not defensiveness or anger. In these situations, The Stoic approach is to remain composed, to not let someone else's trivialization diminish your sense of self-worth. After all, their words cannot take away the meaning of your journey. The key is not to rely on others to validate your experiences. You know your struggles, you know your victories. Let that be enough. Now, let's reflect on this. Do you think true friends should support you even when they're struggling themselves? Or is it too much to expect that kind of unconditional support? I want to hear your thoughts. Drop a comment below and let's discuss what friendship really means, especially when envy comes into play. But sometimes, jealousy isn't about comparison or dismissal. It takes a darker turn. What happens when someone tries to sabotage your personal progress in order to pull you down to their level? Let's talk about the 8th sign, direct sabotage. As we venture deeper into the signs of jealousy, we come to a particularly subtle and insidious manifestation, passive-aggressive behavior. On the surface, these actions may seem harmless, even playful, but underneath, they reveal the true intentions of someone struggling with envy. Let's explore 2 signs that are often overlooked, but can be incredibly telling when you're dealing with jealousy. Sign 8. Subtle jabs disguised as humor. Have you ever noticed someone making jokes at your expense, but there's a certain bitterness in their tone? They laugh it off as a joke, but you can feel the underlying resentment. Here's a personal example. A co-worker who, every time you share an achievement, will say something like, "Well, I guess some people just get lucky," or "It must be nice to have everything handed to you." They laugh, but you can tell that behind their words, there's no genuine humor. It's resentment disguised as a joke, a way for them to express their jealousy without confronting it head-on. Has this ever happened to you? A comment meant to sound light-hearted, but instead leaves a sting. I'd love to hear about it. How did you handle it? Let's talk in the comments. When confronted with passive-aggressive comments, the Stoic response is to maintain composure and remember that others' words do not define you. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, you cannot be harmed unless you let yourself be harmed. It's easy to feel anger rise in response to subtle jabs, but remember, our emotional response is the one thing we can control. These kinds of remarks are designed to provoke a reaction, to pull us into their negativity. But as a Stoic, we resist the urge to engage with that negativity. By staying calm, we not only preserve our own peace, but also avoid feeding into their resentment. Stoicism teaches that our worth is not determined by the opinions or comments of others. So, the next time someone tries to make a jab disguised as humor, resist the urge to defend yourself or retaliate. Simply smile, nod, and move on with your day. This is where true strength lies, in the ability to stay unshaken in the face of provocation. Sign 9. Unnecessary competition. This sign is perhaps the most exhausting because it turns every conversation into a battle for superiority. A peer or friend who constantly needs to one-up you no matter the topic. Whether it's a conversation about your personal life, work accomplishments, or even something as trivial as what you had for dinner, they always find a way to make it a competition. Oh, you're going on vacation? Well, last year I went to 5 countries. You got a new car? I've had mine for years, but sure, congratulations. It's as if every conversation becomes a test of who's better, who's done more, and who's achieved more. It's draining, isn't it? This constant need to compare, to one-up, and to prove their own worth. The jealousy is clear, but it's disguised as competition. This isn't about celebrating each other's successes. It's about trying to diminish yours to make theirs look superior. Have you ever had a conversation like this? one where you couldn't share anything without it turning into a comparison game. How do you handle someone who can't stop turning every moment into a competition? Share your experiences below. Let's discuss how to deal with this in a way that maintains your peace. In situations like this, the Stoic response is simple. Do not engage in the competition. Seneca wrote, "You will find it difficult to reach peace if you are forever looking over your shoulder." The need to compare ourselves to others will always disturb our inner tranquility. But if we stop measuring ourselves against those around us and instead focus on our own path, we can find true peace. When someone tries to turn everything into a competition, remember that you are in control of your own journey. Stoicism teaches us to focus on what we can control: our actions, our thoughts, and our emotional responses. Don't let anyone drag you into a race you never signed up for. As Epictetus advised, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. The best way to handle someone who thrives on competition is to simply let your actions speak for themselves without engaging in their need for validation. But jealousy doesn't always reveal itself through passive-aggressive comments or competition. Sometimes it's more direct and more destructive. The final signs are all about taking control of your narrative, whether it's through public slander or trying to destroy your reputation. Let's dive into the 10th sign, public humiliation. Sign 10. They distance themselves. The final sign of jealousy is perhaps the most telling and, at times, the most painful. They distance themselves. When jealousy becomes unbearable, rather than confronting their feelings, some people choose to cut ties entirely. They retreat, either silently or with an excuse, to avoid seeing or interacting with you. It's as though your success has become a mirror they can't bear to face. At first, you might wonder what happened, why a once close friend or colleague suddenly becomes distant. There's no argument, no clear reason. They just start withdrawing. The truth is, their jealousy has reached a point where your presence is a constant reminder of something they feel they can never attain or perhaps don't want to acknowledge in themselves. It's easier for them to sever the connection than to confront their own envy. Have you ever had someone pull away from you after you achieved something great? How did you react? Did you try to reach out, or did you let them go? Let's talk about it in the comments. How did you handle this situation? In this situation, the Stoic approach is to understand that their distancing is a reflection of their inner struggle, not yours. As Marcus Aurelius wisely said, "What is not good for the beehive cannot be good for the bee." This person's inability to cope with their own feelings of jealousy is a personal challenge they must face. It is their struggle, not yours. Rather than feeling hurt or rejected, a Stoic response would be to accept that this is a natural consequence of their emotions. We cannot control how others react to our success, nor should we allow their actions to dictate our emotional state. In the face of this kind of distance, we practice understanding, detachment, and compassion. This doesn't mean we should allow them to treat us poorly, but we should not take it personally. Their emotional reaction to our success is not our responsibility. By practicing detachment, we free ourselves from the need to prove our worth to others or to chase after relationships that are not mutually supportive. In the words of Epictetus, it's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. Their choice to distance themselves doesn't diminish your value. It only reflects their own inability to handle their envy. How to handle jealousy as a Stoic. Now that we've explored the signs of jealousy, let's shift focus to something more empowering. How can we handle jealousy when it arises either from others or within ourselves? Stoicism offers powerful tools for managing envy, keeping our peace intact, and continuing to focus on what truly matters in life, our own actions and virtues. First and foremost, focus on what you can control, your own actions and virtues. Jealousy often stems from an internal struggle, and while we can't control others' emotions, we can control how we respond to them. The Stoic practice is to stay grounded in your own journey, unaffected by the reactions of others. By focusing on virtue, courage, wisdom, justice, and temperance, we shift our attention away from external validation and toward what truly builds a meaningful life. Secondly, respond with kindness and detachment. This doesn't mean we should be passive or indifferent to the feelings of others, but rather we should remain detached from the need for approval or acceptance. If someone is jealous, respond not with anger or defensiveness, but with empathy and understanding. Recognize that their jealousy is a reflection of their own insecurities, not a judgment of your worth. Lastly, do not let their envy define your self-worth. Stoicism teaches us that our value does not depend on external factors such as the opinions or emotions of others. Instead, our worth comes from living virtuously and staying true to our values. No one's jealousy can diminish the integrity of who you are. Let me share with you a powerful story about Marcus Aurelius, who faced immense jealousy in his court. As Emperor of Rome, he was surrounded by rivals, both open and covert. One of his closest confidants, who had once been a loyal ally, began to spread rumors and attempt to undermine Marcus's leadership. Rather than retaliating, Marcus used this as an opportunity for self-reflection, acknowledging that he could not control others' envy, but he could control his own actions. He responded with grace, focusing on his duty as emperor, and over time, the false rumors faded, and his reputation remained untarnished. Marcus's example teaches us that, when faced with jealousy, we must stay focused on our own purpose and virtue, rather than getting caught up in the drama or resentment that others try to create. Now, I want to hear from you. What's harder, forgiving jealousy or simply ignoring it? For many, both are tough, and yet Stoicism teaches us that letting go of envy is not only a form of emotional liberation, but also a way to protect our own peace. Share your thoughts in the comments below. Let's reflect on how we can all handle jealousy in a way that allows us to continue growing and living virtuously. As we reach the end of this video, let's take a moment to reflect on the 10 signs of jealousy we've uncovered and the Stoic takeaways that can help us rise above them. Each sign is a clue to the deeper emotions at play: insecurities, envy, and fear. But every sign also offers us an opportunity to apply Stoic wisdom and maintain our peace in the face of it. Here's a brief recap of what we've covered. 1. Backhanded compliments. Remember, as Marcus Aurelius teaches, focus on your own virtue, not others' opinions. 2. Silent treatment or withholding praise. Acknowledge that some people simply cannot celebrate your success, and that's their struggle. 3. Overly critical of your success. Let criticism slide off you like water on a duck's back. You are the master of your own response. 4. Imitation or copying. Don't be attached to your ego. Flattery in this form is fleeting. 5. Undermining you behind your back. Maintain your integrity. Their deception will not shake you. 6. Envy. Masquerading as friendship. Focus on your own journey and avoid comparisons. 7. downplaying your struggles or victories. True friends celebrate each other's growth, no matter their own struggles. 8. Subtle jabs. Disguised as humor. Smile, nod, and remain calm. Don't let their words steal your peace. 9. Unnecessary competition. Refuse to engage in a race you never signed up for. Your own path is enough. 10. They distance themselves. This is not a reflection of your worth, but of their internal struggle. Stay compassionate, but detached. Now, let's reflect. Jealousy is a reflection of the person experiencing it, not a judgment of you. The next time you encounter envy, whether from others or within yourself, remember to stay grounded in your virtues, respond with kindness, and never let jealousy derail your path. Your success is your own, and it is built on the solid foundation of your values, not the approval of others. Before you go, I need to ask you something. If this video resonated with you, don't just watch and leave. Like, share, and subscribe. By doing so, you're helping us build a community where wisdom, resilience, and Stoic principles can guide us through life's challenges. Every action you take helps us spread this message far and wide, empowering others to find peace in the face of adversity. But more than that, ask yourself, do you want to be a passive observer in life, letting envy, jealousy, and negativity control you? Or do you want to be an active part of something greater, a community that rises above those forces and lives with purpose, integrity, and wisdom? The choice is yours. Join us. Together, we can transform our lives and help others do the same.